Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this Concord Township Zoning Commission hearing for Tuesday, September 3rd to order. First order of business is to call the roll. Heather?
Mr. Lingenfelter?
Here.
Mr. Schindler?
Here.
Mr. Eiffelise?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
And Mr. Wortel?
Here.
Okay.
Okay. Second issue on the agenda is the approval of minutes for May, June, and July. So we've got a lot of minutes to approve. Our infamous minute scrutinizer isn't here this evening, so Frank, do you have any comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, no.
You sure?
I'm cool.
All right, give you a chance.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments on the minutes?
None, Mr.
Then I
Chairman.
will
I did review, not to the extent that a Hiram would, but
Right.
they look
He scrubs them down pretty good.
representative of me.
Yeah, he's pretty thorough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion in the affirmative for the May minutes.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes for May the 7th.
Second? Anybody?
No, Mr. Chairman, I second it.
Okay, second from Frank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain? Abstain.
Two abstains?
I was in Ireland.
Okay, so we have 3 ayes and 2 abstentions. So the minutes for May are approved. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion for June.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the June 4th, 2024 meeting minutes as written.
I'll second that motion, Mr.
Okay, a
Chairman.
motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 1 abstention. So we have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. The minutes are approved. And I will entertain a motion at this point for the July 2nd minutes.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes for July the 2nd, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, I have 4 ayes, 1 abstention, no nays. So the minutes for July 2nd are approved. And I want to make note that the hearing for August, we had that big storm blow through. We lost power. And we were not able to have our meeting in August, so there were no minutes for August. So that's the reason why they're not showing up on the agenda. And I do have the meeting packet from August with me, so we can review the new work that Heather had put together. The next item on the agenda, that covers the minutes for this evening. Next item on the agenda is the correspondence report. Frank, any correspondence?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich, any correspondence?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Eiffelise?
Nothing since the last time we met in July, and at that time, there hasn't been any further communications, so I was consulting with Bridie on that, so I'm really not prepared to discuss it again yet. So.
No correspondence.
I didn't think so, but I figured it's always good to ask.
Sure, we'll start.
And I had no correspondence of note for the past couple months. So moving on the agenda, the next issue is the zoning inspector report. Heather, you're on.
Hi. All right. Okay, thank you. So the Quail Hollow Hotel study was presented to the Board of Trustees at their September 17th meeting by the consultant Silverlode that did the study for the JED that was paid for by the Concord Painesville Joint Economic Development District. The report included a history of the property, an evaluation for reuse of the existing structures on the property, also an evaluation of use alternatives, and what are some of the economic development programs that might be available to help with the redevelopment of this site. Essentially, the study determined that the likelihood of reusing the existing structures for a hotel would really not be feasible or viable. It's likely that the site will need to be cleared and the structures taken down prior to any kind of new redevelopment of the site. As far as possible future uses for the site, the report evaluated different uses and determined that the most viable uses would likely include either light industrial, senior housing, market rate multifamily residential, and single family residential uses. Other uses that were less likely viable included office, hospitality, and multi-tenant retail. So at this point, the JED, a couple of the JED, one of the JED members and the JED administrator have been in conversations with the property owner. The property owner does have a copy of the report. They know what the report has come back and said. So they've started a conversation between those two entities, which I think is great. The township kind of next steps, really, we're going to have to decide as a community what of those uses that were looked at in the study, what do we think would really fit there? What, from a planning perspective, what are the uses that we would be open to? So likely this board may have to have some discussions, work sessions, and/or with the trustees potentially to discuss, okay, what do we really see there? Now we know what's kind of viable, but how can we make that fit for Concord, and how would that really look on the site? Which obviously, if there's an interested party in that, hopefully they would be looking at a use that we do want to see there, and that the township would likely have to work with them to change some of the zoning there. As we've talked about in the past, that property is special interchange, which really was developed specifically for hotels. It has a couple other uses that might be available to it, but we'd probably have to work on rezoning all of that and/or changing the district completely in order to facilitate any kind of future development on the property. So if we've done a little legwork in advance, might make that transition a little bit smoother for someone who might be approaching the township with an idea, if they know that we support kind of what their use might be.
What's the owner's position on this right now? Are they active? Are they engaged in the process, or because they're in New Zealand or something, or Australia,
Right. So this is the first time that they've been actually be able to speak to the owner and not the owner's rep. So I think that's huge. I think they're moving in the right direction.
Is there any ownership change in the offing, or no? As far as the property's concerned, are they trying to sell it?
I'm not really sure what else I can really say about where they're at with the property. It's not on the market right now, but I think they understand, based on what the report is, that, and I don't think their intentions are to reopen it as a hotel, so I guess it would be safe to assume that they do want to get rid of it, but that's still, I don't know for sure. You could probably talk to Morgan. I know Morgan's been talking with the property owner, and I'm not sure what all is public at this point.
Right.
So, yeah. I can send everybody that study, so you can have that and you can take a look at it. Did I send it to everybody already?
I don't have
Okay. All right. Okay. I know I've given it out to a couple of people that have asked.
I don't have it.
Yeah, I'll email it out to the whole board, so you guys can have a copy of that. You can read through it. And if you want to watch the meeting where the consultant presented it, and you can go on our YouTube channel and go to the September 17th meeting, and I think he presented right at the beginning of the meeting, so you could watch that. And there was a full slide deck and everything of everything. So he went through the report pretty detailed. So you can look at it that way too. But I know we've been talking about that, and you're waiting for some kind of update. So I was going to let you guys know about that last month. And then just real quickly, August zoning department activities. We've been things are a little bit slow. We did 32 zoning permits last month, mostly residential, small projects, decks, accessory buildings, swimming pools of that nature. Year to date, we've processed 284 zoning permits. Last year, we did a total of 382. So we'll probably be a little short of that this year, with only 3 months left to go, which tend to not be the busiest months of the year. But we did approve the Taco Bell zoning permit, and also the permit was issued for the outside design custom pools and spa. If you remember, almost 2 years ago, they were conditionally approved to build their new office showroom warehouse right up here next to the old stone school.
That's Steve Moore.
Yes.
So they're going to actually start.
Yes. So
wow.
They
yeah.
cut the grass. I noticed.
Why no? I've seen they've been kind of puttering around on the property, but I haven't seen.
So
any
they're ready
real,
to move forward now.
haven't
They're
seen any
finished.
dirt
Yeah, I
moving.
mean they still have to get all their other final county approvals, and I know they don't have their building permit yet. So so probably soon they'll have that. And then the car wash ice cream parlor on Cryle and Old Cryle, I think we'll hear something later this month regarding an opening date for that. So stay tuned.
You're getting close, that's for sure.
Yeah, real close. So.
Yeah.
That's all.
Speaking of which, it's funny you should bring that up, and I don't know if this would be an appropriate time in the with the agenda, but with regards to that sidewalk completion for that project, that doesn't that fall pretty much on our shoulders as far as when this wasn't the agreement that when and if we decide that they should put the sidewalks in, that should be, that then it has to be done? Is
In a
that how I
nutshell,
understood?
yes. Yes, yeah, within 5 years of the date of that agreement was executed, I believe. Yeah, I'd have to dig that back up and, yeah.
So what do we need to do to enact that?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I can bring that to the next meeting or re-forward that out to everyone so we can, if you want to talk about that at a
Yeah, I
future
do.
meeting.
I think it's time. Yeah,
Okay.
I drive past that frequently, and I see the, I see the value of the sidewalks and finishing that off and completing that. I think it's going to be important to have that done. So, and if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the agreement that was drawn up, it was basically whenever we determine that they need to do it, they have to do it. It's pretty much, there was some leeway there, but it was once we decide that if we say it's time to build the sidewalks, and they have to comply, right? Isn't that? Do you
I don't remember the exact language. Yeah.
Bridie, you don't recall, do you?
I don't think I was here for
No,
this.
Brady
I
was
don't
not
think
here
you
for
were.
that,
I
yeah.
don't think you were.
But I will definitely
I thought
let
it
Christina
tied in with
Yeah.
other sidewalks that would be built in the area, though.
No, it was about it was basically, that was that's why I had initially kind of supported them not having to do that, because there wasn't really anything to tie into. But now that I drive past it all the time and I see what it looks like, that needs to be done. And that those sidewalks need to be put in so that when they start to tie into other things, and there is now some development across the street there at the intersection, further up, and there's some other things going on. I'm thinking that probably it's not a bad idea that we, get that. We should have that little caveat enacted and get that moving forward. So whatever it's going to take to get them to do that, I think we should probably, whether that's an agenda item for the next meeting, or if it's just a matter of executing the letter, that the agreement or whatever it is, I'd like to get that moving forward and get that done.
Well, I will bring Brady up to speed with that, and we'll have a discussion as to how we should best approach that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Heather?
that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Chairman, I have a question for him.
Yes.
You mentioned the Taco Bell.
Yes.
Does the board share the traffic study if the board recalls the
Yeah.
request?
Right. Is that? Do
you
they have
share
that yet?
that?
Or
So
Yeah.
the Taco Bell, they did do the full traffic impact study per the request of the board. The firm that they hired, actually reached out to me directly to find out exactly what the concerns were of the board, just to make sure that the scope of the study was going to cover that, which I thought was excellent. I did end up looping Rich Ifelis in a little bit, just because he was
Yeah.
brought it up the most at that meeting, and Tracy Sakowitz, a Lake County engineer as well. She did assist with facilitating that between the company that did the study, and essentially it didn't come back with anything really negative. During peak hour, if all of the cars showed up at the exact same time, then there could be an issue with cars potentially, getting backed up on the drive-through onto Cryle Road. But that would take all of the cars showing up during the peak hour at the same time. There's about 8 stacking spaces in the drive-through, and then there's the parking lot as well for, if it were to spill over more than 8.
well, that's kind of what we suspected. I think we suspected that there probably wouldn't be a major impact, but
Yeah.
it's always better to confirm and verify what our thoughts were. And Rich, were you okay with the results?
Yes. Thanks for Heather. Yeah, she shared that with me, and I reviewed.
Because she didn't share it with me. I don't know why, but I wasn't even brought in on the loop, which kind of, quite frankly, a little disappointing. But that's okay. Don't feel slighted.
Hopefully you're not. It was more of an engineering question.
Well, and you were
Yeah.
you kind of spearheaded the concern for that, so
yes. I still envision internal conflicts during those peaks, but they did go through a pretty good analysis that indicated that
well,
the likelihood of
right.
all the peaks occurring at the same time.
Well, I'd liken that to a phone system. Okay, they talk about consecutive call paths, and you have 100 employees. Okay, well, what's the likelihood of all 100 employees being on the phone at the exact same time?
Yeah.
You got calls happening and ending and picking up and coming in and going out, and those.
Yeah.
And there's that give and take, but there's never 100 concurrent call sessions at one time with 100 employees. It just doesn't happen. But it could, right? It could. So the issue becomes same thing with this traffic issue at peak time. If but I would have to assume that's probably a pretty unlikely scenario.
What was interesting is the volume of traffic coming from the freeway. It was much greater than in local. So that to know that peak would coincide with local peak, then it's rare. But it was a significant, if you recall, significant number coming from the interchange
Right.
to go to Taco Bell. Yeah, I was just surprised. That's all.
Yeah,
Right.
the study didn't come back with any recommendations,
No,
like for off-site improvements or even within,
Right.
and it
Good.
encouraged the
So
shared
we're okay
access,
with that
cross-access
impact study then, the one that with the more detailed one?
Yeah, and I also sent that to our engineering consultant that the township
Yeah.
uses. Bob Parker reviewed that on behalf of the township as well, and thought it came back okay. Yeah,
Right.
to move forward, yes. Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but I figured, I was okay with recommending that to be done because I think it's a wise
Yeah.
decision, and I'm glad that our concerns were, taken care of. They were. If there's no big issues, so that's good news. I think I look at that as a positive. So now so Taco Bell's going to move forward then?
Yes, they've already
Because
started.
I think if I'm not mistaken, we gave them the conditional approval based on the outcome of that TIS, right?
Yeah, there were a couple other small things
Yeah,
that they
right.
had to also do.
Right.
If you recall, the fire department was concerned about the gas wellhead on the adjacent property. They
Right.
did commit to putting bollards around that to protect that in case a vehicle were to go off the driveway.
Right.
So that's great. But yeah, they're under construction, and I know that they would love to be open before the end of the year. So
Taco
they're going
Bells
to
are
be moving
coming.
fast.
Okay. All right. Okay, next item on the agenda is the public participation component. Is there anybody in the audience this evening that has anything that would like to come up to the podium and talk about? Nothing? I know there's a lot of people out there this evening. The throngs of the citizenry sometimes astound me. Okay, there is no public participation at this point, so we will check that off the agenda. New business. Now, I know we've got people here for that. So we have a site plan review application number 60 submitted by Ralph Victor Construction, Inc. for a new commercial building that will be located on the northeast corner of Hunting Lake Drive and Cryle Road on current parcel number 08A 020C 000020. And if the applicant is here, I would like them or a representative to come up and introduce yourself. Please state your full name and address for the record, and then proceed.
Todd Victor for Ralph Victor Construction, Inc. at 20 Alberta Road, Painesville.
Thank you.
We're here to seek the zoning permit for the building we want to build on the corner of Cryle and Hunting Lake Drive.
Now, have you reviewed the staff report?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware of all the comments?
Yes, there was 2 items on there for the trash. The trash where the dumpster is going to be, how we're going to build the walls around it. the fence around it, and
Yeah, we've got a rather extensive list of conditions.
other than, yeah, with the nose, I mean, 2 of them had the nose on there.
Right.
And the
We've got
exterior-
17 items, and then with under number 17, we have A through O. Not quite the entire alphabet, but a pretty good part of it.
And we have the exterior lighting, we had to lower the poles, and that's been done. I just didn't give it to Heather yet.
Right.
And they had to add 1 more light pole when they lowered it down.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're planning?
Well, it's mainly, we want to build the 1,300 square foot building. We were taking approximately 5,000 square feet for our offices. And then the rest we were gonna lease out when people come along that would like to lease there. We had 1 inquiry for the Pilates, but they haven't committed to anything yet. On the end, on this end here. Other than that, the rest will be for lease, for whatever business is allowable there.
And the BZA approved the conditional uses? The conditions, the BZA, I've got some, they approved the variances and the conditional use permit. Heather, is that correct?
Yes, the BZA approved a variance from a buffer requirement for the PUD and then also a conditional use permit to have
Right,
the
okay.
commercial center because it is zoned PUD.
All right.
Was there any other
Mr. Chairman,
questions you would like to know
could you
about?
describe the project a little bit more?
Right, that's kind of what I was hoping you were going
Materials
to
of
do.
construction, what's
Right.
going on, what's your plans? How are you gonna develop the site? When are you gonna, things like that?
The plans are to start this year, if we get approval here tonight. If not, we're gonna wait till next year.
Okay.
Just because of winter coming and everything, so. The plans are to, well, you have all the site plans and everything. We wanna build an office building that we have here, and I don't know what else to say.
Materials of
really.
construction.
Yeah, materials.
I understand it might be a standing seam metal roof. I thought that might be of interest.
Yeah, metal roof here, and on these 2, on that peak, and then the one over here that you can't see, and this side one. And dimensional shingles, black windows, stone up to the bottom of the windows here. And then the timber frame for the post.
Now, is it your vision that this will have some retail space then, or is it commercial, or what's your thought process and what kind of tenants are you looking to attract?
Whoever would come along that's allowable, yeah, retail or exercise like the Pilates, or a dentist, or,
So this is basically an extension of Cryle Road further down Cryle Crossing, that kind of a mixed use,
Right.
retail,
right,
commercial.
correct.
Okay.
We have an outbuilding out here that's not in for approval yet. But if someone would come along that would want that, we would build that at the same time or sooner. Or after we're done with our building.
That originally, that other building was gonna be a coffee shop, as I recall, but it now could be anything?
Right.
Okay.
We had a dentist looking at it. They might come back in the spring. I don't know. Right now, that's on hold.
Have you had any interest at all within the shopping center? Have you marketed it all, Todd, to anybody yet?
No,
No. So you're gonna do that after you build it?
right,
How much, so you said 5,000 is what you're taking,
right,
and you're gonna have 8,000 left over?
correct.
13,000 square foot total?
Right. Now, if one business wanted to come in and take the whole rest of it, we would let them do that. But allowable business in in the zoning there. But it could be three, possibly. 3 other businesses there.
Frank Schindler, any questions?
Not really, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich Peterson, anything?
No, not right now.
Rich Felice, any comments?
Yeah, there's a number because of the comments from the staff. I might suggest the staff have a.
Yeah, I was
go
going to,
through. There's
I'll run down the staff recommendations. That's, I've given
Number
you
of
some questions,
comments
there's a lot.
related to that.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. But
I'll wait for the staff as well.
But in general, has it been the history here in Concord approving something that is less than 50% occupied, speculative, more than 50% for a commercial building? Don't know how long it's going to sit vacant, so it's my question. Is this something we've
As I think about
Consider-
crossing it was, yeah, we didn't know who was gonna go in
Right.
there.
And they're bringing their business here, right?
No, I meant over 50% is
Sure, yeah,
unoccupied.
right,
That's the only, that's my only question is that something of a concern or not?
I don't have any concerns as long as I know it meets what our current zoning allows to be put in a structure like this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Frank, I didn't understand.
I said I don't basically have a concern as long as our current zoning allows whatever that's going to go in there to be allowable.
Right, yes, of course, but it's vacant. That's my
Yes.
question is really proving something that's more than 50% vacant. That's my question.
Well, I would think he has to maintain it at all times, so it's not like it's going to be a derelict place per se.
Okay, so
At least not my thinking.
that hasn't been a concern.
Right.
Okay, that was my question.
I'm with Frank on that one too. I agree with that. As long, you're going to have obviously a maintenance program after you build it,
Right,
right, for the whole property.
it's our offices. We're not
Right,
gonna let it go bad, so.
Right. No.
Right.
The other
sorry.
question, Mr. Chairman, the BZA approved it as a commercial center. Did they give any definition to that? It says commercial center.
That's the language from the zoning resolution and the PUD.
Okay,
So no, the PUD in section 1607 kind of describes,
Okay.
like, what commercial centers need to comply with.
okay. What's interesting, well, is like the property on the south side of Hunting Lake is also PUD. I'm wondering what was the genesis of making that PUD all the way out to Cryle? And in retrospect, should it have been rezoned instead of a variance? We're putting a variance on a PUD, and we have a property on the south side that's a PUD that looks like doesn't fit. It's a PUD. Was that ever a consideration to rezone instead of a variance?
Rezoning it from a PUD?
Correct.
This is part of the quill.
It's part of the Quail.
Right. So you're
So-
saying consider rezoning from the PUD to something what? Like,
Commercial.
right,
Yep. Because across the street it's PUD as well, and perhaps it's restricted because it's PUD.
So in the PUD, these properties are part of the Quail Hollow PUD.
Right.
And in that, you can have residential by right, permitted uses, or you can have a commercial center as long as you get a conditional use permit approved by the
Oh, I see.
BZA.
Okay.
So the variance was not to do the commercial. The variance that he was granted was to remove part of a 25-foot buffer on the property.
Okay.
So he, yeah,
Yes,
so
okay. Okay, thank you.
no need
Yeah,
to
thank you.
rezone.
Got it, okay, thank you. Thanks.
We do have.
okay. Any other questions?
Oh,
I have none. So what I'd like to do, Todd, is I'd like to review this list, and it's quite extensive, so just bear with us as we go through them.
Okay.
But I'd like your response as we go down the list of the recommendations because the recommendation from the staff is a conditional approval of your application, but it's subjected to the following conditions, okay? And there are quite a few. And I'm going to go through these with you one at a time, and I would like you to give me some sort of an affirmative or a response as to what you're doing to address these, these conditions that the staff has put together. Okay, item number 1, revised plans to provide a parking lot lighting that will not exceed the maximum 18-foot height permitted as measured from grade to top of fixture.
We have that done, I just haven't given it to Heather yet, because it just came over today.
Okay, super. Number 2, provide cross-section of the parking lot lighting and details for the fixtures showing compliance with maximum height, and fixtures shall be full cut off.
That's done.
Okay. Number 3, submit a rendering of the proposed freestanding monument sign. Said sign shall be part of the architectural concept and match the buildings on the site. Size, color, location, arrangement, and lettering shall be harmonious and compatible with the building design.
Yes,
Good with
we
that?
haven't done that yet.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
interject here?
Please.
Where, I didn't see it on the plans. Where is it located? I may have missed it. I didn't see where this monument.
The monument sign?
It's up on the front corner where Cryle and Hunting Lake meet.
On the layout
One of the
plan,
sheets?
yeah.
Sheet.
Sheet 4, you can see it.
It's real small, so you probably didn't see it.
I zoomed it in with my, on the,
Right,
It's on the corner.
on the corner of,
Yeah, Cryle and,
Right.
There it
Cryle
is.
and Hunting Lake.
It's a little, it's a little. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Got it, Rich?
I see that.
You okay?
It's tiny.
we do have to get these full scale, yes.
All right. Item number 4, revise the dumpster enclosure plan to fit the area on the site plan, provide an elevation of dumpster enclosure, specifying the specific materials and colors proposed for the 3 walls and the gate shall conceal the dumpsters.
we have that done too,
Okay?
but it just came today, so.
All right. Item number 5, remove the proposed concrete leading up to the dumpster area that crosses over the 12-inch water lines.
That's
Okay with
fine,
that?
Yep.
All right?
Question on that.
Yes.
On
No, absolutely.
on sheet.
Jump in.
On sheet 6, Mr. Victor, the storm sewer is in the middle of the 2 water lines. Storm sewer is likely at the same depth as the water lines, likely, and they cross.
We know that.
Okay,
It might be a
so-
problem. We'll
Might
see.
be.
Well,
There's
it's not,
multiple locations. It looks like a
it
couple
might
of
not,
problems.
it might not be, though. It's gonna be close, so we don't know the exact depth of it.
I didn't
Till we dig it up.
understood. The county or the city of Painesville didn't have a concern. I didn't see it in theirs on the water line. I didn't see it from the county engineer, but, right, Heather? There's a conflict there. So they didn't note it in their reviews, other than the concrete issue.
Right, the city of Painesville had concerns regarding concrete specifically, but also just the development of the site and how
Yeah, okay.
apparently there's potentially a missing easement.
Yes.
No one can find a record of an agreement that gave the city of Painesville permission to put the water lines there, so
Okay.
that is something that the property owner is gonna have to work with.
And your concern is where the depth of the storm and the city water at the same time, correct?
They'd
Yeah,
have
and
to
I don't-
then,
yeah.
they'd have to get Painesville approval then to move the
The
water line.
storm connection out of that pond
Right,
The storm's gonna be,
so,
could be the same depth as.
the storm sewer's gonna be fixed.
yeah, right.
The water line's gonna have to move, and it's not it's the city of Painesville's
Right.
water line. That's what-
Have you been in communications with them, Todd?
with-
City of Painesville? On those water lines?
No,
Not at all.
no.
Okay, that's my concern.
Okay. Number 6, the future building area shall be seeded and maintained until phase 2 of the project is completed. Good with that?
Fine.
Number 7, fire
Chairman.
apparatus, I'm sorry?
The building site, but the entire site.
Right.
It says the building site, but it's the entire phase 2 site will be
Right.
seated.
Most of it's gonna be done anyway, so, I mean, we're only leaving a little bit undone there. Yeah, we're gonna see.
Okay.
Seed it.
Yeah. Phase two.
So, hey, Todd, and I know that you kind of answered this already when I asked you, but I'm assuming because it is your office space that seated is also going to be maintained, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm going back to what you said about, the 50% thought process. That's a
We're gonna put in a sprinkler system.
yeah, right. So it's gonna be. I got you. It's gonna be maintained grass, right?
Right.
Because it's a high profile spot. That was my
high profile,
concern.
yep.
Yeah, and I get it. I understand it, but
Right.
and you want to attract businesses there.
Yeah,
but
we want business.
exactly
there,
right.
so-
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We good? All right, moving on. Number 7, fire apparatus access roads shall be marked with permanent no parking fire lane signs complying with the 2017 Ohio Fire Code Appendix D, Section D103.6. Site plan needs to show marked fire lanes. You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Number 8, construction documents for the process for the proposed fire access, location of fire lanes, and hydraulic calculations for fire hydrant systems shall be submitted to the Concord Township Fire Department for review and approval prior to construction as defined by the Ohio Fire Code Section 104.2.1. Good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9, structure to comply with the Concord Township Resolution number 2017-27 and the Ohio Fire Code Section 510, ensuring adequate emergency responders radio coverage.
Yeah, I'm good for that.
Good with that? Okay. Number 10, per the Lake County engineer, the proposed drive on Crowell Road is to have a right-in, right-out access only. The configuration will require redesign to increase the radius on the south side of the driveway and provide a concrete island to delineate traffic.
That's fine.
Good with that? Any comments?
That's a redesign,
Okay.
yeah.
Number 11, the parking spaces in front of the future building should be reviewed. The configuration of the last handicap parking space and the space perpendicular to it facing Crowell Road will be difficult for a vehicle to maneuver. We working on that? Number 11.
Yeah, is that for the next building now?
Yes.
Yeah,
But it's going to be done with
Yeah.
approved plan as is, right?
right.
Right.
Have you looked at that
Yeah, we could move it over.
to
a
the other
little
side
bit. Yeah,
and remove that parking space altogether?
right.
Right. So you're going to move off of the drive. Is that where you're going to move it to? Because you have to have the same number of parking spaces.
I was just going to say then, does that compromise the parking?
No,
These
I
two
actually looked at this
spaces
one in
that are
pretty
in
good detail.
question.
That was good. At first I was like, huh? But then I looked at it in good detail.
Out of these two workers.
He's going to take one away from in front,
Gotcha.
okay? And if he puts it over on the axis, the drive coming in, there's a space that he could do it.
Right.
Remember when we looked at this, reviewed that plan?
When we come in, we might be able to take out the one spot all the way by the road.
Right, and put it over, yeah.
Right, put it over on the other side.
See that again when he builds this.
I don't know if you've got, yeah. You do actually. What they're talking about is that spot right there and that spot right there. How they can kind of, if you're backing out or in.
Or you can run into the other vehicle
Right.
possibly. Yeah, especially if an SUV or a truck.
Right, and I was just saying put a parking space here so that he meets on the northern drive coming in.
Put one here instead, maybe.
Yeah, we can over there. If we need to.
So we clear on that?
Yeah,
I think you're gonna need to do that, Todd. I do, for sure.
We good with
yeah,
that?
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, number 12, add wheel stops to all of the parking spaces adjacent to the proposed stormwater basin.
Yes, we can do that. Do we have to do that? I mean, we don't like to do it because of the snow plowing. We don't really want to do that.
Heather?
The snow plowers rip them out half the time.
It was a comment brought up, a concern from the county engineer due to the proximity of the water basin there. So I thought it was a good suggestion for this particular project, but per zoning, no, it's not necessarily required, but maybe a,
So I've got a question, and I think it'll kind of roll into this too. And there's a question later down here where it asks, what kind of material, what kind of stone are you putting along that, off that end of that pavement?
Some riprap kind of, or.
Like a river rock or riprap, or which
Yeah.
one? I mean, like a smooth river rock or a riprap?
Right. Well, probably, I don't know yet. We'll see. I mean, they're gonna know.
At first, and that's why I'm asking for that question, because when they hit that stone, they're gonna know, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna know that
they're
you're
gonna
off the pavement. And I looked at that too closely, and I've gone a couple different parking lots and parking, areas to say, okay, where does it stop? In our own region out here, there's not curb stops along. I know it's not going down into a detention basin, but we don't even have curb stops on our westernly parking lot. I parked in it today, right? And I think if the stone is there, that could offer a good, almost like a rubble strip that you're off the pavement. Does that pavement go up, Todd? What's the
No.
it probably flows down, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then there's two, so we're gonna have, the riprap along there, and we might be able to raise a bed up, because there's 3 areas where the water's going through.
Yeah, that's what I would say is raise that,
Right.
bring that stone up along there, so it almost acts like a curb stop, but it's the stone.
Other than probably putting the guardrail up. I mean, people.
That's even more of a disaster for.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
But then you worry about people going down in there. Stone isn't going to stop somebody, other than hearing they're on it. It's not going to stop them, heaven forbid. They lose control, they'll go right down into it with the car.
Is it detention or retention? So it's going to be grass, right?
They're gonna go that much, they're gonna go over one of those stops anyway.
Right.
Here,
Right.
and it discharges to
Yeah.
I mean,
here is
yeah,
riprap.
Well, that's what I mean.
right,
It's typically
yeah,
riprap. But here, actually, I don't know what that
and
is.
it's not a wet deep pond.
It's not a wet pond, right?
No.
Dry basin.
Dry basin.
The snow.
If it
the
was
snow
wet, I
we-
would have more of a
The
concern.
snow that we get up here,
Which we've been getting less and
we
less of.
haven't been getting it, but.
Well, we're gonna get it.
it.
You think we're going to get it?
I think we're going to get it.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, are we good with you adding the wheel stops, or you don't want to do that?
I really don't wanna do that.
And what's your alternative then? We can't have, you gotta have some barrier. So is that what's reflected here? Is it
Well,
stone?
we don't.
What what is actually being proposed on the plan?
What do we have?
It looks like stone, that's what I'm asking. Sheet 6.
I got it on here, but
it doesn't specify.
It doesn't specify,
Yeah, the
but
landscape plan doesn't specify what that is.
it's drawn like stone.
Yeah.
I don't know if the designer was contemplating a
we
stone.
have some kind of. We have some riprap at the end, but we didn't decide what it was gonna be yet. If it's gonna be smooth decorative or the bigger ones and twos, I mean, the bigger stuff,
Well, the bigger the stone, of course, the
point.
more likely it's going to hold.
That's a good point.
right,
So you have to use discretion.
correct.
Who parks back there, Todd? Employees?
Yeah, mostly it's gonna be employees and us.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna be in the garage, but.
Your employees will be parking out
Employees
there. Todd's definitely going to be inside the garage. To your point, I think you're trying to, want to assume what you're going at, but they're going to get there. They're going to know where their driveway stops. They're going to park there.
We got plenty of boulders around there we can put in front of each spot
So if
too.
it said employee parking only, we'd be okay, right?
Right?
Just a sign that says employee parking only,
Yeah,
because they'll get used to it.
Yeah.
But you're right about boulders. They have decorative ones that are a fairly decent size, but could fit into the landscaping.
Right.
which would definitely stop a vehicle for
We
sure.
can put a boulder every so often.
Exactly.
We got plenty of them laying
I'm sure
around
you do.
everywhere.
I'm sure you do.
Well, if I may, it's not that simple. This is a 6-foot drop, okay? There's a 6-foot
Yeah.
drop, so I agree with the county, it's a safety concern.
Sure,
I know we're talking about the snowplow, but
sure.
you can replace stops pretty easily.
I understand.
So where are we at with this, fellas?
But I would want to make sure it be something substantial that could stop a vehicle, heaven forbid. You know, especially the elderly people sometimes, which I'm one of, can't judge some occasionally where the end is. They maybe might go too far. So whatever approach they take, that could minimize, you know, somebody actually going down that 6 foot. You know, it scares me sometimes in Concord Plaza. Do you ever park next to the dollar store, that area there? That drop off, that baby is deep. It could swallow up the whole front of the whole car. So,
Well, here's where we're at, fellas. The comments
We'll put some boulders
at the
on
beginning of
back
this
there.
is the staff recommends conditional approval subject to the following conditions. Number 12 is a condition, okay, and it's to add wheel stops to all the parking spaces adjacent to the proposed stormwater basin. The applicant's saying he doesn't want to do that. Okay, so we're kind of at odds here.
It's not a requirement, though.
Well, it's a condition, and it's a condition that was set forth by some other agencies. So my concern is, you know, first and foremost, safety. Secondly, I'm not worried about aesthetics, I'm worried about safety. Your desire to want to adhere to that request is neither here nor there. You either say you're going to adhere to it, and then we can move on with the conditional approval, or if you're saying we're not, then we have to make a decision as to whether or not we want to give a conditional approval. So you're going to put us in an awkward position, taking a position that you're taking right now. So we're going to put wheel stops in, or aren't we? Yes or no?
No, we'll put boulders there.
So
We'll put boulders back behind each spot.
so we're going to put
In the
boulders
center- In
in?
the center of in the center of each spot.
Okay, is that something that's acceptable?
In front of each spot? I mean, a boulder's gonna be better than a wheel stop. It's gonna,
Right,
stop the
understand
car.
that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, there's got to be an established decision on this, how this is gonna be handled.
Well, it's a
It's
staff
either gonna be-
recommendation. What do you think?
Well,
Heather?
the staff recommendation is wheel stops, okay, so that to me it's black and white,
Unless she changes it.
right? So,
My recommendation is the wheel stops, because that's what the county engineer
right,
brought to our attention and thought the board should consider that.
right,
But at the end of the day, it's between you and Mr. Victor as far as
They
what you
said
think
it
is
should be
important.
considered, so,
And I've recommended it as a condition.
right.
Frank, you have any comments?
Other than, like I said, I understand what the position he's taking and why.
Right.
But I'm concerned like you, safety-wise. Something that'd be large enough to stop, heaven forbid, someone go. So if he's gonna put large boulders in front of each one, I would accept that myself,
You're
personally.
okay with that?
Yeah. I would.
John? What
I
about
would
you?
accept that.
Would you?
I would.
All right,
Boulder will stop a car better than a wheel stop.
Rich
So I'm
Peterson, you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, Rich
No.
Scheifele?
No, we'll stop, as recommended by the county engineer.
I tend to kind of go in that direction
Boulders on-
myself.
Yes, no.
I
that's
I
not a-
tend to, I mean, if the county engineer recommends the wheel stops, I understand the boulder concept,
In front of each wheel, okay,
right,
that doesn't make sense, but
Right.
that's me, so.
right.
Wheel stop.
You can make this you can make this real easy on us, Todd, if you'd say, yeah, we're gonna just put wheel stops in.
I
and we're
know
done
it's
with
a
this.
maintenance issue, and I've plowed snow. Nobody else probably has in this room.
I have.
besides
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
John.
put a lot of snow in my life.
So I know what it's like.
It's exactly
Hitting
right.
those things and wrecking your truck and maintenance of the parking lot and putting them back and tearing the parking lot up every time. You have to go put them back. It's an issue. The county engineer probably's never plowed snow either.
Yes, they do that quite a bit, actually.
Well, not him himself.
Okay,
So, the workers,
That's not.
I mean,
this is silly.
I don't know, we gotta have somewhere to push the snow off, and you need somewhere to put it. So, I mean, a boulder is gonna do more than those wheel stops will.
Not getting real warm and fuzzy here on this one,
No.
to be honest with you.
Mr. Chairman, what size, how big are boulders? Like, what size are we talking? Maybe Mr. Victor can explain that.
We got probably a 3-foot boulder. That big,
By 3 foot tall, or what do you mean?
well, 3-foot round. Pretty much.
It's still a barrier to a snowplow. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Those wheel stops have to be out into the parking lot,
Correct.
away from the edge,
Correct.
about 2 feet.
So with the boulder.
No, the boulder would be behind.
The boulder's gonna be in,
Off the edge of the
off the
pavement,
edge of the pavement.
preventing somebody from going down. That's what, is that what you're thinking?
Right.
Other than putting up the concrete barriers that you see on the shoreway,
Now I understand.
now you can put the concrete barrier over the stone, and then the guys can do their plowing, of course. I mean, that's another alternative. Now aesthetically, for one thing,
Yeah, it's terrible.
it looks terrible, for one thing. So,
But what are we looking at? What's the intent here? To prevent a car from
Safety.
That's what
moving,
the intent
which
is.
is gonna do a better
Safety.
job? The boulder.
yeah, safety.
I don't have a problem with the boulder.
I mean, neither.
We have,
I don't either. I get the intent, yeah.
All right, so Frank, you're okay with the boulder?
I am, yes,
John,
Chair.
you're okay?
I am okay with the boulder, I am.
Rich, you're okay with the boulder? So Rich, that leaves me and you out.
I'm out.
Because we got
It's
three.
okay.
No, I'm just saying, right now, we've got three, we got 3 people on the board that are saying that they're okay with the boulder idea.
It's okay. with me.
My preference, I would defer to the engineer, to the department, and the professionals.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, absolutely.
So, Mr. Victor, if there's, I would, and I don't know if this is even possible if we're allowed to do this, but I would actually like, I mean, if possible, if we're going to approve this and if we're going to agree to this, is there any way that I could, or we, or one of us could see what boulders you're talking about putting there before you put them there?
yeah,
Because I would have a concern. I mean, I'm being dead serious on it. I would go and myself say, I mean, I guess we have to prove that tonight though, but I guess it would be conditioned upon that.
Condition
Mr.
about
Chair.
size.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, condition on size
Yeah, yes.
of the boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can
well,
say
I
3
can-
foot, and then,
Yeah.
Council?
So what I was going to say is, I mean, since it's a condition and it's a wheel stop, I mean, you certainly, if you wanted to say that it's, you know, you're suggesting a boulder, just, you know, a size appropriate to the zoning commission, whatever that size may be, you can establish it now, or ask for him to bring back another plan that shows what the size would be.
I would say no less than 3 foot
right, that's
and
fine.
round.
Or bigger,
Or big, yeah, 3 foot and bigger.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I think is, yes. It has to be minimum 3 foot bigger. Round.
And what are you saying, one in front of each parking space?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
okay, centered on, like, so if there's
Yes.
8,
parking spot, yeah.
can we get that clear for the record?
Centered on each parking spot.
Okay.
That is adjacent, that is in the parking spaces adjacent to the proposed stormwater basin.
Correct.
Only.
Now, the only, and I, you know, I hate to belabor this issue because to me it's pretty simple, but, you know, it's, so if, will the boulders be placed close enough to each other that a car couldn't fit through also? Because, you know, I mean, okay, let's go to winter, okay? Snow's covering the lines. Somebody misses a line, go right through, and if there's a boulder here and a boulder there, but there's enough room in between the two boulders, they go right over the edge anyway. So are you gonna space these out so there's not gonna be enough distance, there won't be enough distance between the boulders to make sure that a car couldn't fit through? You follow me?
Yes.
Okay. So like one centered on each, you know, a 3 foot by 3 foot boulder centered in the middle of the parking space. The next one,
9.
I'm thinking there's probably gonna be enough room between that boulder and the next boulder with the next parking space for a car to fit through. Okay,
Parking
so,
space is 9 foot.
Mine is 3
Yeah.
foot, they're
Right.
10 foot, right?
10 foot parking spaces or 9 foot?
is that what they typically are?
Or usually 9 or 10?
This plan is 9 by 18.
9 by, okay, so they're 9 footers.
foot.
So you gotta take
4 and a
3
half.
feet.
Yeah, you got,
So,
If they're 3 foot, then you have,
6 feet.
I mean, that's enough room for a car to fit through, right? 6 foot? Yes, no?
I don't think so, but I can't.
Well,
I'm
okay.
not a car aficionado. It's like,
Okay, so here's what I think we could do. Okay, here's what I'm
it's
willing to do.
close.
yeah.
I mean,
What
on
I'm
a
willing to do
small
is,
compact car.
I'm willing to be okay with the boulder concept, but I want to make sure that you understand that the spacing of the boulders has to be such that they're not, that a car can't fit through in case somebody misses a spot. You follow me?
Right.
Okay, so if that means 2 boulders, then it's 2.
I agree with you on that.
You know, where you're saying 1 boulder
That's
per
fine, I
space,
got 'em all
centered.
over the place
Okay,
over there,
but if you
so.
put a boulder here and it's a 3 foot boulder, you put a boulder over here and you got a 3 foot boulder, and now you got an 8 or 9 foot open space in between each boulder, that's enough room for a car to fit through. Okay, so I would prefer, you know, that because with the wheel stops, you don't get that. You don't get that expanded space in between the wheel stops, right? They're typically, you know, 3 or 4 feet between wheel stops. So I'm okay with the boulders, but you have to assure us that you're going to space them as such that a car can't fit through and go into the basin. You okay with that?
Yeah.
This is on record. You're okay with
Yes,
that?
yes,
Okay.
You have
You under-
19 spaces then.
You understand what the condition is?
yes.
Okay. Bridie, is there anything from a legal standpoint that we should cover? Should we change the verbiage on this, or what, for the condition, or?
I think you should change number 12 to exactly what you're going to.
Right, okay. All right, so we'll change the wording, and Heather, you can do this. Change the wording on that condition with the add wheel stops, that the applicant will place boulders in a way that they are spaced appropriately so the cars can't fit through. And will basically fulfill the wheel stop requirement for that section of the parking lot. Okay? You all right with that?
In addition to that, each boulder is a minimum 3 foot in size,
Well, I mean, it'll
diameter,
be,
and
the
centered in
size of
front
the
each
boulder will
parking
determine
space.
the size of
No.
the boulder. If he's got bigger boulders that cover the space and make sure, and close down the distance between, that serves the purpose, or if he has to put multiple boulders, I don't care. As long as we prevent somebody from sliding through the boulders into the retention. Okay?
So we're not saying a minimum size anymore?
No.
Would a guardrail be cheaper? Posts and a guardrail?
No, it's.
No, we got boulders all over the place up there. So,
All right,
from the last 2 subdivisions.
all right.
It's a good idea.
Okay, we okay with this?
Yeah.
All right,
No, but
okay, duly
I'm
noted.
outvoted.
I'm a little
No,
hesitant myself.
this to
So-
disregard the
Right.
county engineer and wheel stops.
Okay, so we're gonna change the verbiage on condition number 12 to boulders instead of wheel stops. And then the size will be as such that and the placement will be as such to prevent any cars from going into the stormwater basin. That should allay the concerns for the appropriate department on that, okay? Okay. Number 13, Lake County Engineer requires a detailed review of the plan to be completed once approved by the zoning commission. Good with
That's
that?
fine, yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
again,
Please.
here's another one.
Okay.
typically we have a detailed review from the Lake County engineer, then we review. Now, this is saying that we're gonna approve, if we approve, then they want a detailed review. It's the cart before the horse. I don't quite, and if it doesn't come back to us, why is the county engineer reviewing a detailed plan again?
And what do they need to see it for?
And the reason is because there's significant redesign. I mean, just a little concern here. We typically have the county engineers review, which we do, but they want it back again.
Do they want to see it after we've approved it? Is that
After
what
we approve something, they don't approve yet because they want to review it again. So I'm just,
do they see after, because they want to see after we approve the changes that they've asked us for?
number
correct?
13, yeah.
Right.
It's just, I don't know, you probably didn't talk to the county engineer's office about
Well,
why they're asking for a,
it's standard that they do a detailed review after a zoning approval, just because then plans have to be formally submitted to their office for the final building permit. But I think specifically even with this one, as it
I've
relates
never
to.
seen this written this way.
Well, the last couple times we didn't get comments from the county engineer.
Okay.
So this review is kind of like a preliminary cursory review for your benefit.
Right.
So this
Okay.
is, they've reviewed it and have given their feedback
Okay.
to this board, so you can take that into consideration as to whether or not you want to approve the plan.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not uncommon that they do a final review after.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Moving on to number 14, add a reference to the document for, document number for the 20-foot water main easement on the existing condition sheet. All right with that?
Yes.
Okay. Number 15, work with the city of Painesville to address their concerns regarding a lack of utility easement for the existing water lines. A new easement may be necessary to address this situation. Good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 16, update the landscape plan to show phase 1, phase 2, as it does not appear to match with the civils near the future building interior parking lot areas.
Where's that? Heather? Number 16. What are you talking about?
Yeah, number 16,
The
updating.
landscape architect is showing installation of some of the landscaping that's actually in a future phase. So I would just like to make sure that the plans match regarding what landscaping is being installed.
Installed now.
Yeah, phase
Okay.
1 versus
Yeah, that's
future
fine.
phase. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Number 17, revise plans as required by the Lake County Stormwater Management Department addressing the comments below. And we have many. A, stormwater report to be stamped and sealed. Good with that?
Yes.
Okay. B, please add culvert information for the culverts in the Crowell Road right-of-way on the existing condition sheet.
Yes.
With that? All right. C, can the proposed outlet pipe for the basin be relocated outside of the right-of-way? Question mark. If not, obtain permission from Concord Township.
Yes.
Okay. D, please specify the rock that will be used alongside the parking spaces. I think we already kind of talked about that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, the answer to number C was yes, but the question is, you're saying it can be relocated outside the right of way?
I don't know. We'll have to talk to the
Okay, so
engineer about
the
it.
answer is not yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's,
You'd have to.
we don't know if it can be or not.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
So who does he get permission from in Concord then?
The trustees.
The trustees.
Right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Got it.
Service director trustees. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then we are on E. Are there any concerns about the parking spaces so close to the stormwater basin edge? Can wheel blocks be used in the spaces to help as a stop? Already
Help
talked
with
about.
boulders.
Right. Okay. F.
Mr. Chairman, just to
yes.
note, this comes from an independent, another body, the Stormwater Management,
Right.
making the same comment.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep. F, recommend turf reinforcement matting along the western side of the stormwater basin since it will be receiving flow from the parking lot areas. You okay with that? Todd?
Straw mat, you mean?
Turf reinforcement matting, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
the straw mat,
Right.
yeah, straw mat, so,
Okay?
yeah, that's good.
All right, the overflow area on G, the overflow area shown on the eastern side of the pond that would overflow water onto Painesville City Water Department property is not allowable. Please revise the embankment grading to allow for an emergency spillway that would discharge water out the road right of way. Increasing the eastern side's top bank to 980 would help allow this to occur. All right with that?
We're good, yeah.
Okay. H, please provide forebay and micro pool stage storage information. You have access to that?
No, I don't.
You know what we're covering here with the forebay and micro pool stage storage information?
Yeah, we'll have to ask the engineer about that, so
So you're not sure, or
I'm
you're,
not sure on that one.
okay?
We'll have to get him to provide it. I mean, we should be able to provide that, so.
Okay, I, recommend storm profile 3 discharge to a forebay.
Yes, we should be able to do that.
Okay, J, please show the side slope ratios on a storm profile 5 plan and profile where the culvert extensions will be installed.
Okay,
Can I stop you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, absolutely.
So on H, where it says, please provide the 4-bay micropool stage storage information, what?
it should be able to be done with the engineer, but I can't.
I have a question mark.
Okay, so but my question to you is what you're going to do. I wanted clarity on this one. So what you're saying you're going to do, you're going to go to your engineer and you're going to have him provide that information.
Correct,
Correct?
correct,
Right. And that's what they're asking for, is to provide it, correct? You don't have it,
right,
but you're going to go to your engineer and have him provide that information.
right.
Okay. I want to make sure that. Thank you.
K, please provide proof of NOI coverage.
Okay,
All right, L, please add a note onto the proposed outlet structure detail that all connections on the weir wall and pipes should be watertight.
okay,
All right, M, coordinate the right-of-way access onto Hunting Lake Drive with Concord Township and access onto Cryle Road with the Lake County Engineer's Office.
yes.
Yep.
We already sort of did that.
Okay. N, what will the temporary grading look like for the future phase areas for the interim? Question mark.
Okay, we'll put that on there. It will be just moved off at the, to grade right outside the right of way. I mean,
Okay.
whatever the berms are graded at, we'll keep it at that level.
Okay.
So I have a question. Are you going to do a pad? Are you going to get that pad ready, that front lot?
We probably will, and then we'll seed it.
You're going to seed it.
Yeah.
So it's pad elevation, and then you're going to seed it.
Correct.
And then maintain it
Right.
until the time comes. Okay.
So since they're there, we'll probably get the pad ready.
Right. And I just want to make sure that it's going to be maintained. I drive by it every day.
O, plans and report are subject to detailed review and revision.
Okay,
All right. So that covers the conditions. To be quite honest, that was a little more painful than I had hoped it would be. And Todd, you don't help us when, you know, you don't have answers. And I've been through these applications many, many times. I've been on this board for a number of years. And I can only recall a couple times where we're dealing with approvals on applications where the applicant wasn't very informed. And I'm reminded of those experiences this evening. You know, this should be a relatively easy process. We try to make it easy for the applicant, we really do. And lack of preparation makes our job more difficult. It really does. And I would appreciate better preparation, better understanding of the conditions that are set forth, and better answers to the questions when we have these issues, because it makes it a lot easier for us to give you the approval you're seeking. You're seeking an approval. We're here to help. We're not here to hinder.
Right.
And when you come in ill-prepared, which I feel in a way this evening, you weren't fully prepared with some of these issues, and you didn't have good answers, and that causes concern, at least on my part, in dealing with these reviews, okay? So
Okay.
I just want the record to reflect that. At this point, I would consider are there any comments from the board at this point, I guess? Frank, any comments?
I made my points that I wanted
Okay.
to.
John, any additional comments?
I think I made my points as well.
Okay. Mr. Peterson?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Ifelis?
Mr. Chairman, I would concur with your comments. I find it fairly deficient in terms of the satisfaction of what I reviewed.
Right.
Nothing against the project as a whole.
Right.
I mean, I get it.
Right.
It's something good but it's deficient. This has
Right.
been deficient. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah. The I don't knows, we'll figure it out. We'll come up with an idea. Those aren't good answers for me in reviewing these applications. You know, we're trying to make your job easy and make your life easier and streamline this process. And like I said, when we don't have good answers or we don't have good preparation, it makes it more difficult for us, because then we end up debating some of these issues at the dais here, and I don't think we should do that. I think that your answers should be yes, we've already talked about that, yes, we reviewed that, yes, we're prepared to move forward with that, yes, we'll comply with that condition, and down the list. And that's been my experience from a well-prepared applicant, okay? But we have had applicants come in and they kind of try to spitball things, and my preference is I don't like spitballing when it comes to this stuff, because that's when mistakes get made and things get overlooked, and we provide an approval maybe prematurely. And I know time is of the essence, and I know that construction and all the things that go into this process are important, critically important. Costs money. Time is money in the construction business, right? You're in the business, right? And so if it would be a real shame if I would have to ask you to come back again because you didn't have all the information that we needed for this evening's approval, okay? So it would be a shame. I would feel bad if that happened. So, and I don't want those things to happen. I really don't. I want these things to run smoothly and get your approval, and you can get on your way and start doing your work, and we can all be happy-dappy, okay? All right.
I made that was very well said.
Thank you.
Yep.
With that said, and it was, I will ask for a motion in the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve application number 60 with the wording changes noted in the list of conditions.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, I have a motion made and seconded. Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes?
Mr. Schindler?
Yes,
Mr. Wertel?
Yes.
Mr. Ifelis?
No.
Mr. Lingenfelter?
No. Okay, let the record reflect that we have 3 ayes and 2 nays. So the conditional, or the site plan review application has been approved conditionally. And I just want to remind you that it will be important for you to adhere to these conditions that have been set forth this evening and we've discussed. Otherwise, it could jeopardize the forward momentum of your project. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming in. Okay. Now we move to old business. Number 1, proposed zoning text amendments to section 5, definitions, and section 15, residential district. If you have your packets from the August meeting, we can review this.
You said from August?
Yes.
It's July 30th.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one I think.
Well,
Thank you.
Actually,
Thanks for the
this
guidance, I appreciate it.
this memo was actually dated June 25th
Right.
with those attachments.
Yes.
Right.
Because we were originally going to discuss this at the July meeting, and then we deferred, and then, you know, it happened in August, and now we're September, so.
Right. So Heather, do you want to refresh our memories on this? It has been a little bit
I'll
of
second
time
that.
with,
Right,
since
so
we've tackled
to
this.
bring it back to where we were, we had been talking about making some revisions to sizes of detached and attached garages. Specifically adding in some limitations as it related to the ground floor living area of the primary use, the dwelling. So with that, there's a couple proposed modifications to a few definitions in section 5, but most of the changes that are being proposed are in section 15 and then section 1503A. So I believe you have the red track changes version, and then you likely, if you still have it, there was a clean copy with the changes kind of accepted. But we can look at the page 15.5
Right.
of the track change document. And I'm waiting to see if everybody is there.
15.5?
Page 15.5.
Yep.
Oh, page.
Yeah, are you in the document? You're supposed to be looking at the information with this one.
Not the July.
Yeah, there's two different memos.
June, the June one.
Section 5 definitions, right? We're talking about section 5 definitions with the red line.
We can look at those, sure, and or section 15, yeah. So as far as definitions, we are looking at rewriting the definition for accessory building or use. An accessory building or use is a subordinate building or use located on the same lot on which the principal building or use is situated and which is customarily incidental to the conduct of the principal building or use. And that is proposed definition number 3.
15.5.
We are adding a definition for breezeway.
And I see Mr. Meldrum is here, correct, Meldrum? Yes. You've been a steadfast attendee for the last several months. I know this is an issue that's near and dear to your heart. Have you reviewed some of these things that have been done? Are you still in the loop in this process?
Yes.
Okay. How do you feel about what's been going on? You okay with everything?
I'm fine with it, and appreciate the board making progress with this. And just so we can continue.
Okay, good.
The majority of the amendments are in section 1503A.
Yes.
For the general requirements for accessory buildings. So one of the provisions we were adding, if you recall, was making sure that an accessory building didn't exceed the height of the principal building of which it is incident to. Trying to keep it in scale. The one change for lots that are less than 2 acres in size, they're still at the 1,024 square feet, one building, that's the same. But what has kind of changed there is that it also cannot exceed that 1,024 square feet, nor can it exceed the ground floor living area of the dwelling.
Right.
So if it has a very small first floor, maybe it's only 800 square feet of living area on the first floor of the house, then that would reduce the size that the outbuilding could potentially go.
And that's for 2 acres or less?
Correct, yeah. Yeah. But for lots 2 acres and larger, that you can have 2 accessory buildings detached with a combined maximum square footage of 1,532 square feet. And just remember, these are for, this doesn't impact agricultural uses on lots greater than 5 acres where we can't regulate. There's, if someone's doing something agricultural, these limitations don't necessarily apply to them. But the one change that this also does is it limits an attached garage size to these same maximum square footages as well, whereas the current resolution does not. And that is kind of the loophole we're trying to close, is someone having a very small dwelling unit with a very large attached garage.
So if a person has 5 acres or more, and what allowable accessory building size or 2 are they allowed to put on their lot?
Well, if it's not for ag, they have to follow this.
And they have to follow this being 1,024 square feet,
No, the 1532.
1,532 combined.
Well, if
They
they
could
don't,
put 2 1,024 square foot accessory buildings not attached on their lot, right?
no,
They cannot?
no. So if you have a 5-acre lot
Right.
and you're not doing anything agricultural,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Then you can have your attached garage, which can be 1532, as long as that does not exceed your living area, the first floor of your house.
Okay.
And you could also have a detached accessory building, 1532. Or you could
Okay.
split that into 2 accessory buildings, say you want a shed and a larger building, as long as that combined square footage doesn't exceed the 1532.
Understood, thank you. So garage is not considered the attached accessory. You could have an attached accessory of 1532, and then you can, 5 acres or more,
Yeah,
and then you can have an accessory building of.
detached.
Detached.
Of 1532.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
All right, thank you very
There's
much.
still a very generous
Awesome
allowance,
clarification
yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean,
It's a personal question too, sorry.
We,
That
we
explains
went
a lot.
through.
I know you did, I read.
Yeah.
We
That
went
was one
through-
night.
Yeah, we spent a lot of
We
time
did.
You sure did. You
on
sure
that,
did.
coming up with what the right sizes and the limitations, and we put a lot of effort. There's a lot of discussion, good discussion.
Yeah,
but a
Heather
lot.
had given me the minute, and I agree with you, and I read
Right.
the day, the evening that you came up and spoke.
Right.
So I appreciate that too.
Okay, I've got complicated, Mr. Chairman, with a question for Heather then.
Go for it.
Yes, so now, contrary to that question, for less than 2 acres now, we're limiting to no more than 1 detached. To 1024.
yes.
What is the limitation for the attached garage in those districts, less than 2 acres?
It should also be the 1024.
That's
Or.
what I'm looking for, I
yeah.
don't see it.
Yes, that is in,
Is it there?
it's number 9. It's kind of, the numbering's a little off. I don't know why on this track changes, but it's, if you look halfway through the new number 9, the square footage of any detached or attached accessory building on a lot shall not exceed, or hold on, wait.
It's
I'm
just-
sorry, wait a
No,
second.
keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going, Heather. If you read the
square
whole
footage.
sentence. Yep,
Square footage of the living area and the ground floor level. I thought we closed.
keep going. Of the principal building on the lot, which then
Oh, yeah.
continues, but shall
But
not
shall
also
not-
exceed, right?
Yeah, yeah, but shall also not exceed the maximums permitted above
Oh,
in section 1503A7
Oh, I
and
see
AA. Yeah, that's what we were trying to get that language in there correctly. Thank you.
1503A7, which is 1024.
Right.
Yes.
It's, I mean, it does refer
Yeah.
you back.
It does,
It
okay.
refers you back, yeah.
Right.
But if you think it could be clearer, then
No, is this the King's English?
you bet.
I get it. Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll make sure those numbers are correct. But yeah, and that's why I had given you that clean version too, so it might just be a little bit
Yeah,
easier to read. I understand it might have got lost with the months of going back and forth, but I can get that to you again.
Okay.
Yeah, that will actually be a whole new section number 10.
Okay.
Okay.
So whether, I know we've talked about this
Yeah.
several times, and I know we wanted to kind of stick with those same numbers and just try
Yes.
to tighten it up a little bit, so.
I think we're in a good. I think we're in a good place on this. I think we've come up with a good reasonable
Yeah.
conclusion on this, and I think it will prevent further issues.
Well, if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, to just remind everybody of the process, if this board wanted to initiate the text amendments this evening, you can make a motion to set a public hearing. We could have that at our next October
When we
meeting.
do that, then we have it, then the clock starts to tick.
Yeah, so then if you wanted to set it for the, I'm sorry, I lost my agenda, whatever the next October meeting date is, we could advertise for that, and then we would have a public hearing here. Then at the conclusion of the public hearing, you guys would take a vote on a recommendation for the trustees, who then would schedule their own separate public hearing, take public comment, and then, as you know, they would make the final decision. And if they
Mr. Meldrum,
do,
you look like you have, if you would like to address the board, I ask you to come up to the podium, and please, please state your name and address for the record for us, please.
George Chris Meldrum, 11159 Prouty Road. We've been talking. I appreciate this. I've got one question that's come up when I looked at the tax assessment rolls, and those my question is, it may or may not have anything to do with you gentlemen. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry for wasting your time. I've noticed that one of my neighbors on an 1.5 acre lot has half an acre that's defined in the tax assessment roll as pasture. Is that still covered by these different regulations that we're talking about, or is that
No, that would probably fall under the CAUV for the assessment for the auditor's office. So if you have a question on that, I think that would be better directed to the auditor's office.
Okay.
They're very helpful.
Okay.
And they would be able to explain that, because there's a lot of different designations from the auditor's office with regards to farming and agricultural use and forestry use and things like that. There's a lot of different designations, and there's some very strict requirements on that, and they would be probably better equipped to answer that question on the pasture.
Thank
versus,
you.
Versus vacant land. Yeah, there's
Thanks.
a lot of different designations, but most of that is used for valuation purposes at the auditor's office versus would be in for zoning.
Good.
So, but I would start there. And if they don't have a good answer for you, then I would probably defer to Heather. Maybe Heather can shed some further light, but I would start with the auditor's office on that. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your help and your input. And quite frankly, it would be nice if we had more residents in the township that would show the passion and the interest in helping to develop, things for the township as far as zoning is concerned, because it affects all of us. Yeah. And it's nice when we have residents that actually take an active role, because we encourage it. We have specifically time allotted on our agenda every month to have public input, and you took advantage of it, and we appreciate you doing what you did. And it just goes to show that we take the citizens and residents of Concord Township, we take their suggestions and their concerns seriously, and we try to address them when we can. If we can fix them, great. If we can't, we can't. But we have limitations. But it's great to have folks like you take an active role in helping us come up with this stuff, because we appreciate it, believe it or not. It's hard, it gets thrown in our lap all the time to come up with answers. And so as hard as we work and as much time and effort we put into this, we don't have all the answers, and it's always nice to have another set of eyes or another set of opinions as to how things should work. So we appreciate your help on this. We really do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. Okay. Any other comments on this, or do we want to move forward with setting this on the agenda?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to place amendments number 1, 2, and 3 as presented in the zoning text amendments for public hearing.
Okay. All right, we have a motion made.
A second.
We have second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Let the record reflect we had 5 ayes, no nays, no abstentions. So this amendments 1, 2, and 3 will be put on the agenda for public hearing. Okay?
and that's October 1st.
That would be October 1st, right? October 1st? October? Wow. Man, it's going to be snowing pretty soon.
Not according to Frank.
Yeah, well, you never. It's his own
That'll
makeup.
make me out to be Because, last year I only used my snow blower once.
Oh,
And I used it just to run it, because you only had 2
Yeah.
inches of snow.
right.
Okay. All right. So, the proposed text amendments to section 5 definitions and section 15 residential district, we've kind of worked our way through that. Now, do we want to, what time do we have here? It's 8:30? Do you want to delve into the residential districts uses? It gets a little heady.
I would support Heather doing a presentation and an
Sure.
overview, then we could be able to digest this better.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
We don't want to waste John's efforts here tonight, seriously.
I've been waiting for this all my life.
We're gonna make you work, buddy. We're gonna make you work.
So just to bring the board back, because this again was a work session that was getting spread over a few months, and during that time we actually had a change in chairperson as well. So I'm trying to bring us back to refocus again, because I think we were getting a little bit in the weeds of going through that
Yes, we
big
were.
table of all the specific uses, and I wanted to bring it back to the forefront of your minds as to what some of the recommendations staff had regarding some of the changes, and just to talk about what we've already looked at and what else do we still need to maybe potentially look at. So the memo dated July 30th, 2024, I've included in some of our recommendations for the changes to the list of uses. As I said, some of these have already been discussed by the commission and some of them have not. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have to tackle that special interchange district at some other point. Also that airport district, likely we are going to have to look at that in the future as well. Maybe we don't do that at this stage, just because those are very small districts that are very specific to a couple unique properties, and at this point, we would need to really do some more planning work to decide if we're gonna make major changes to what we allowed in those districts.
Right.
Touching upon some of the ag and residential uses, one of the things staff had originally recommended was considering eliminating adult group homes from B1 and B2 districts. We already discussed that as a commission. The board agreed to potentially eliminate those uses from the B1 district, but maintain it in the B2. So I'm good with that as well. A couple other things I had brought to your attention. Do we want to define and break out some other commercial uses that typically fall under more general terms, like personal services and retail uses? Actually, I saw in the paper the other day that Painesville Township are starting to take a look at like vape shops, head shops, smoke shops. They actually passed a moratorium so they could spend a little time to decide how they want to regulate those. They've gotten 3 or 4, I think, in their community, and they have some concern, according to the newspaper, about potentially the health impacts that those kind of those establishments have with the products that they sell in their communities. And that was one thing that I had mentioned to the board initially, like, do we want to regulate like a vape shop or a smoke shop differently than we would any other kind of retail store? Is there any concern from our, from this board of the trustees regarding an influx of those type of uses in the township? Or do we, are we okay with those just falling under the general retail use? We do have 2 over now in Concord Plaza that are there, but and they're relatively new, both of them. So that was another area that I had mentioned. Moving on, community facilities, public and institutional uses. I was recommending that we potentially eliminate some of these type of uses from our traditional R1 and R4 districts. I don't think we would be looking for additional camps or community centers, libraries, museums, and within our R1 and R4 districts. Those districts tend to be more built out as residential, and some of those kind of government uses would fall under a different definition anyway, under government and public uses. So I don't necessarily know that we need to allow those in all of those R1 and R4 districts. We also could consider potentially adding a couple like neighborhood parks potentially to like the R2 and the RCD districts. those might be nice to have in those residential areas as well. Do we want to also, number 2 here, consider if golf courses should remain a permitted use or should they be a conditional use in the R1 and R4 districts? I don't know what the likelihood of us getting any new ones are in Concord, but as of right now, they are just straight permitted uses that don't really have any additional oversight or review or considerations if we were ever to get a new one. Which I don't know the likelihood of that is, so maybe it's a.
We don't really have any parcels large enough to accommodate a golf course, do we?
Potentially, I mean,
How big's the airport? How many acres?
Yeah.
I mean,
a couple hundred.
No, it's not big enough.
That's what I said, we don't really, the
Probably our
large-
greater concern would be the redevelopment of a
yeah,
golf
large-
course, honestly.
Large tracts of undeveloped land are becoming more and more scarce.
Yeah. Well, you're thinking 18 holes. I'm thinking more of the
Executive course?
9-hole or that, what's the top golf? Top golf is another.
Oh,
That
I don't
wouldn't be
even
a
know how
golf
that,
course,
yeah,
right?
that would.
Correct,
yeah.
but doesn't it fall under that?
I don't know if like a Top Golf.
I was just
would
gonna say
fall
golf,
under that, yeah.
wouldn't Top Golf, wouldn't that fall under like a
That's more of a commercial.
Yeah.
recreational retail
Yeah.
type of a use?
Yeah,
We wouldn't need hundreds of acres for that,
No.
right.
so.
And then also in that same kind of category, the community facilities, public and institutional uses. I was asking that we take a look at the residential care facilities, nursing homes, hospice care facilities, home for the aging, because we allow those in the R1 and R4 districts, but we also allow them in several other commercial districts.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if those are really desirable uses to keep in those residential areas. They are conditionally permitted in Gateway Health B1 and B2.
The hotel's PUD, right? Where the hotel's located at?
No.
The
What-
Quail.
what is that? Yeah,
Quail
it's
Hotel,
special- well,
that's
in
special
Quail.
interchange.
What is it? Special interchange? I'm sorry, special interchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have any recommendations really at this point to make any changes to that district,
Right.
the special interchange
No.
district. And then there was kind of this other category of different accessory uses. We have some old sections in the zoning resolution 32 that covers oil and gas well regulations. But we really don't have any authority to regulate the location of new oil and gas well regulations, so we really probably should take that out.
Right.
Same with, well, in 33, the satellite receiving antennas, I'm not sure this is really applicable in today's, technology
No,
and
that was
world.
more for back in the days when they were
Yeah.
putting up things like you would see down on News Channel 5 on the shoreway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need that anymore.
That's kind of outdated technology.
I agree.
Probably need to focus more on
Right.
solar and those kind of
do?
things.
Right.
Also, I'm suggesting that we update section 602 to reference the trustee limited home rule resolution 2024-3 that was approved earlier this year that prohibits all the adult use cannabis operators. I think that would be a good cross-reference for someone who might be looking at our zoning to determine whether or not they're allowed to locate here. I've mentioned this previously too about maybe adding in section 602, prohibiting shipping containers from being used as buildings in the township. Also potentially adding a reference to the EV charging station resolution that the trustees passed in 2023.
Right.
Should we cross-reference that into our accessory uses for the zoning districts? Do we want to look at adding regulations or regulating rooftop mounted solar panels or integrated solar in our residential areas or commercial? I had previously given you guys like a model that we got from OTA about that. Right now, I get a lot of calls about people just doing rooftop solar. A lot of companies are doing that, which right now we don't require a zoning permit for that. They do get electrical permits from the building department. I've seen some communities regulate them and require approvals, maybe,
Right.
and even go so far as saying like, they have to be on the back of the house. I don't know if that.
The problem with that is it's determined by the company that's putting them on the best location for them on the roof
Yeah.
to get them.
Yeah,
The
because
mo-
of the sun and
the sun, right.
yeah, and the trees and all
Yeah,
of that. Yeah. Some communities have even like set regulations for the ground mounted,
Right.
solar panels. Is that something that we want to allow or regulate or limit or anything like that? we do have the ability to
Can we-
add
can you
provisions for
even
that as well.
regulate? Do they have to, I mean, because of that issue with where the, and I only know this because a friend of mine does this in Texas, actually, it's his business. And they map it out for you ahead of time and then come on. I mean, can you even regulate that they have to be on a certain spot on the roof? If it doesn't work, you couldn't do it?
I don't know. I don't know
That's
that.
the question, right? I mean.
Right, yeah,
Yeesh.
yeah. I'm not sure how practical it would be to regulate, what
Yeah.
side of the roof
Where-
it would
right,
be on, but
right.
do we want to, is that something that we even want to regulate? That was just a question, yeah. And then I know we briefly talked about this, but the ADUs, accessory dwelling units and or just in-law suites, do we want to do we want to address either of those type of uses specifically in our zoning resolution as permitted accessory uses for single-family dwellings? I know I get a lot of calls and questions about in-law suites, not really ADUs, but right now a lot of people have, we're trying to find, have aging parents and want to keep them close, and can they do a full in-law suite with a full kitchen, bath, that kind of thing, in essence creating almost its own separate dwelling unit. Do we want to include language in there that would allow that with some kind of regulations? Right now we just don't address it at all. And then we could explore adding additional standards for accessory buildings or structures, maybe establishing a minimum distance between buildings for a safety reason or aesthetic, or consider adding a new requirement that might restrict the location of some kind of accessory uses to side or rear yards only, while still having to meet minimum side yard clearances. Like, for example, should swimming pools and accessory buildings only be allowed to be erected in the rear yard?
What do you
or
do
the
with
side
people that
yard?
have rear yard issues?
They go to the appeals.
BZA, right? Yeah. Well, with any provision, there's always the BZA, right? So, I just something that I've noticed looking at other communities' resolutions. Oftentimes, they do have very strict limits as to what yard you're even allowed to put these things, as to maybe potentially prevent someone from putting their swimming pool in the front yard. Because if your house is set back far and you meet that 50-foot front setback, you could potentially put your swimming pool in the front yard if you have a really small backyard. And
Is that in Girdle Road? Right down
yeah, we do actually. Yeah,
Yeah, right-
that's kind
right
of.
in
It
the
might
corner.
actually be a side yard. I'm not
It's-
really
yeah,
sure.
but I
It's
mean,
kind
he
of a
did what he did
side
because
side
it's a
front.
straight
Yeah.
uphill.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they do a good job maintaining that. That
Yes,
property
yes.
is well maintained.
Yes, I do know the property you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah. In a case like that, say we had that provision and maybe that went to BZA and they approved it, maybe with some additional screening.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe that's where the BZA gets that. Okay, well, what does it look like? And okay, maybe we'll approve this if you agree to plant some kind of trees or something to help soften
That's
it.
why
or
we have a
screen it.
BZA.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Let them
So
tackle
that-
those heavy issues.
So I think I was trying to bring us back to some of the things because I felt like we were getting a little bit into the weeds regarding going in every single little use and debating as to
We
whether
were
or
getting
not.
into the weeds?
Yeah.
Come on, Heather. Jeez.
I didn't read it.
So I thought this might be a little bit more manageable to get through.
Well, I have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
It might be more manageable, but it is going to require some deep thought and thinking. Heather, these are challenges.
Yeah.
You're expecting us to talk about all this?
No, I mean, I'm happy to
It's
work
not-
on.
No, these are, I mean,
Yeah.
they're really, really well put forward here, but maybe pick off the things that we know.
Really
right away.
Delete.
Delete.
It
It really,
definitely.
there-
pulls
you know,
the
things
reins
is like, why is it in there? Why do we have, some of these that you pointed out? Why is it in the ordinance to begin with? But
Yeah.
especially the districts where we're allowing near residential, what was the, not EV, resident care, nursing homes, hospice care in R1 and R4.
Right.
Right next to homes, it's just
Can I,
things like that are like, wow.
yeah, I agree with that. And it's good. Well, Heather lives in it. She sees it every day.
I know, yeah.
It's sometimes the stuff to us, we we deal with this is not as frequently, and so sometimes these things don't jump out at us, where Heather sees it every day, and she's, I think, is eminently more qualified and informed to help us, to guide us along on some of this, and I appreciate.
So I know we're not getting into the weeds, Mr. Chairman, but just ask a question, Heather, with particularly on the vape shops.
Yeah.
Right,
What
I was
type
gonna
of
bring that
control,
back.
what type of controls
Right.
could zoning do? I mean, like, no neon sign advertising it, or what? I mean, what could we do to,
Well,
what kind of controls?
I think you could put in order to potentially save us some kind of oversaturation or too many of them, maybe there could be a distance requirement, or just picking certain districts where they may be permitted.
How many do we have currently?
There's 2 over at Concord Plaza.
There's 2 in Concord Plaza?
Yeah. One is over on the one side by the auto repair guy in between in the
Oh,
Japanese noodle shop.
okay.
Yep.
And then the other is next to the Dollar General and like the beverage store
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Is it in the beverage store? Is it part of the beverage
No,
store?
it's not. No,
Oh my
it's
gosh,
it's- yeah. I took over where the Blank Boutique.
Oh,
was
yeah, gotcha.
previously. Yeah. So I don't know, and I haven't looked at this too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a distance between them. Maybe not even allowing them at all. Maybe limiting them to certain areas, certain districts,
Yeah,
those kind of things.
yeah, okay. Okay.
That's not as, it's not maybe as important as some of the other, I mean, some of the other ones are pretty minor, like under the accessory uses. I feel like a lot of these are like, okay, yes, we could delete that because they're obsolete kind of thing. We could update a few of these. So I did try to go through and provide my recommended changes as attachments with track changes. Some of those, so those are the other documents that you see there.
Right.
Just curious, does anyone know what the minimum age is to purchase vaping materials?
Is it 18 or?
I think it
I would
is.
think it'd be
Is it
18.
18?
I think so.
Yeah.
For tobacco
Consider-
now, if we're
yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
cannabis, it's 20.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in the vape stores, they don't sell, they sell like the THC and
CBD.
the CBD and a lot of the, the paraphernalia that is used. So I know those were some of the reasons that Painesville wanted to take a pause on that and take a look at. And I'd be happy to reach out to them and see what kind of things that they've
What are
looked
they-
at. Yeah, even if that was
Place to
something in the
start.
future that we wanted to, because I'm curious kind of where they're coming from as well. And if their boards have, I don't know if it's going to be if their zoning commission is going to discuss that moving on or be with the trustees or not.
I think we're making some good headway. And Heather, your work is appreciated.
May I ask another question?
Absolutely.
About, I'm a habit going through the chair, sorry. So just,
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's my first rodeo, so.
no, okay, so,
Wait till they
so
bring in the
does
clowns.
deleting a section like oil and gas, et cetera, does that still, we delete a section off the ordinance or resolution, require a public hearing even to delete?
Yes,
It does?
yes, yes.
So everything here requires a public hearing that you have as recommended.
Yeah, oh yeah, any changes to the zoning
To the zoning.
resolution goes
Should
through
be.
the same process,
Yeah.
yeah,
As it should be.
yeah.
Right, thank you.
Frank, any other questions, any comments?
None for me, Mr. Chairman.
No? John?
No, I agree. Heather's doing a great job.
Ditto.
Mr. Peterson?
No, sir, a lot of work still ahead of us.
Yeah.
Mr. Atfelice?
Yeah, no, very good. We're just
Any further questions,
trying to
comments?
figure out how to attack this methodically, so logically. So
Well, yeah, that's to me is the challenge.
yeah.
I agree.
Well, I think we've already looked at the ag residential, the first
Right.
section,
That's-
so we've kind of
that's
got that
done.
right here for you. We can I can do a little, we can hold off a little bit about the vape shop, tattoo parlors, that kind of thing, and I can reach out to Painesville Township and
Okay.
see kind of what they're looking at and get a little bit more information maybe in the future. But maybe if we want to also, as a board, even at our next meeting, if you want to, or we could do it tonight even, like the public and institutional uses in all these R1 and R4 districts. So you've got section 15, I gave you just a portion of that here that includes the table of uses. Which I know I didn't give you all the definitions. I have the zoning resolution here. I don't know if you have those or not, but like what I was suggesting here in track changes, you can see in red, is basically eliminating, as I stated, arboretum, camp, community park, playground, home for the aging, hospice care, library, museum, parks, nursing home, and residential care from all of those districts. Just as a reminder, like the township has parks, Metro Parks has parks. They don't comply necessarily with the zoning resolution. They don't have to. So just by eliminating them there, it doesn't do anything with the parks. Doesn't negatively impact any of our parks that we already have here, nor does it affect the Lake Metro Parks at all whatsoever. The Metro Parks technically is their own political entity, so they are not even bound by our zoning resolution. So.
I hate to do this. We're getting the weeds and ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if somebody were to develop down the road the airport, right, and they want to put a neighborhood park in that's going to be rezoned anyways, right? But
Yeah.
so if they want to put a neighborhood park in there, so it's a big development, it's a big property, and they want to pick up green space, and they say they want to put a neighborhood park in there, that would be removed out of that zone, out of R1 and R4, correct?
You're thinking a private entity would want to put in a neighborhood park?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sure.
Just a park?
Sure, because if they have so much green space, right?
You're saying
develop it.
just a park, no other
No,
residential or
Is it-
anything
no,
else?
no, they put in residential and put the park as part of that residential development.
Oh, okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Okay.
They do this a lot down in Columbus, actually.
Oh, and then like the developer, the HOA still maintains ownership
Correct.
of the park?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I hear what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
my only question.
Oh.
Something.
Well, if,
something to think
yeah,
like
no,
that. I don't
that's
wanna get in the
something
weeds.
definitely to consider,
But it's-
right? Yeah,
right.
and that's why I was suggesting earlier too, like maybe in an RCD or a PUD, we should add that use in. Because I could definitely see something like that, somebody
Right.
doing that in those scenarios, maybe not under the R1 or R4, because
No.
I've not seen a developer just give up land in a
No.
regular
No.
subdivision
No, correct.
for a park, but
No, right.
yeah, that's,
No, I think that would be appropriate for RCD or
Yeah.
PUD.
There you go.
yeah. Where you're gonna go rezone and get smaller
Right.
lot
Correct.
sizes
Smaller
and
lots.
hopefully do amenities
And
for the
make-
people that are
correct.
living there. And
That's exactly
yeah,
what I was
yeah,
thinking. Yes.
yeah.
And
I'm with you on
you know, I
that.
mean, I think the window's closing on those opportunities. I mean, the window's closing.
It's getting harder to find land for those.
Sure.
Well, it's just, well, I mean, you know, you get into a large
Yes,
development
yes.
like that, a large, you know, development of that standard is, you know, there just isn't that many opportunities anymore.
Now without sewer and water,
Right.
extended out
It's
east.
just really, you know, I
Right.
think that the airport comes to mind is probably the biggest parcel, biggest chunk of
left,
land that's available. That, you know, I mean, I know that, you know, Rick Colwell's been having issues, you know, with that section he's got over there on Girdle Road and 608, you know,
Yeah.
because it's lack of sewer access.
Yeah,
You know, that's causing some serious problems for him and what he wants to do, so.
right.
You know, so I mean, there's not a lot of other opportunities out there. It just aren't. Other than what we have over here at you know, Discovery and you know, Capital.
Right.
You know, I mean, aside from that, I mean, we're running out of
Big
places to go with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
some of this is going to be obsoleted because it's going to obsolete themselves. You know, so okay. Anything else we want to talk about?
Nope.
Keep that on the agenda. These issues for the
Item 2.
yeah, for item 2. Just keep that on the agenda for next go around.
More than one to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've got
Okay.
we still have lots of work to do, but Heather has done a very nice job in terms of helping us navigate through that. So appreciate it. Okay. Anything anybody would like to see on the agenda for next meeting? Speak now or forever hold your
Another
peace.
Taco Bell or Sheets.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, it just tip of the tongue.
You're really
Freudian slip.
excited about the Taco Bell, huh?
Oh, excited, very excited.
Andy and I like it.
If you noticed, I've tried to maintain a level of decorum because I am a closet Taco
Even though
Bell
we said
fan.
drive-through
So
is prohibited in that.
right
District.
here we go. Hey, we didn't approve it. Remember that. It's the BZA that gave them the go.
The variance. Oh, yeah.
Right. So remember, it's not we didn't do that. They did it. They did it to us. Okay. The next zoning meeting will be next October. Will be October. Hard to believe. October. Hard to say that word. Of this year, October 1st, and we should have some fun stuff to go over. And obviously, if anybody comes up with any ideas, we're always open to making amendments.
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Will the public hearing be on October 1st at a certain time? I think we should set that if we're going to do that.
It'll be on the agenda. I mean, as far as what the time, I would think that probably will be number one.
The beginning.
Well, since it's a public hearing, it's considered a special meeting, even though it's a regular
Right,
meeting, so we
right.
still have to have a time and place. So I'm assuming obviously here, but I'm just curious, would it be at 7 p.m. like your regular meeting time?
Yeah, we can have that. Yeah,
it
we can do
starts-
that.
Because the notices have to go out. and things
Yeah.
like
Good
that.
catch.
Okay, great.
Typically
Good
at
catch. That's
7.
why you get paid the big bucks.
Right.
So you have a special seat over there.
Loge.
Right. Okay. Anything else? Okay. This meeting is adjourned. Nice work, guys.
Thank you, guys.